Welcome to the webinar. We're going to give it a few more moments to let everyone sign in. So just keep signing in and stay ready for us. Thank you. Welcome and thank you for those who have signed on. We're just giving it a few more minutes to get a few more people up and loaded, and then we will begin. So 2:35. All right, thank you for your patience, everyone. We will get started. So, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today on the Ready Up NYC webinar series. My name is Abigail, and I am part of the Ready New York team here at New York City Emergency Management. Today, we will hear from Alyssa Borger, who is the Private Sector Engagement Coordinator for our Strategic Partnerships Unit here at New York City Emergency Management on the topic of the John D. Solomon Fellowship for Public Service. During the presentation, we ask that you please use the Q&A section so we can compile and answer them at the end of the presentation. Alyssa, please begin.
Thanks so much, Abby.
The program was established by the family and friends of the late John D. Solomon, an accomplished journalist on Homeland Security and a devoted public servant. John was a passionate advocate of emergency preparedness and resiliency. He was also an active member of his local community emergency response team, otherwise known as CERT. Now we'll watch a short clip from our 10-year anniversary video to hear a little bit more about John.
John believed that emergency preparedness should be viewed as a central tenet of citizenship in the 21st century, and John was writing a book on the topic. And as research for that book, he created a blog, In Case of Emergency, Read Blog, A Citizen's Eye View of Public Preparedness. And in that blog, John explored all areas of the field and the topic. And he would go out and not only write about topics, but go out and actively engage, including working for New York City's CERT, Community Emergency Response Team. But few of John's friends and family, truth be told, really knew what John was doing or quite understood the depth of his passion. And it wasn't really until both New York City Emergency Management Agency and the Federal Emergency Management Agency both created awards in John's name, annual awards, that we, as friends and family, really understood the depth of John's commitment and the impact that he was having.
Since its inception.
To view more of John's work, visit his blog by searching the title, In Case of Emergency, Read Blog, A Citizen's Eye View of Preparedness. Now I'd like to share with you some details regarding the fellowship. The John D. Solomon Fellowship for Public Service provides an opportunity for 10 graduate students in the New York City area to complete a 9-month paid fellowship at a New York City government agency or nonprofit organization. Applicants must be in a graduate or PhD program from September to May during the application year. For example, for this year's application, you must be a full-time student from September 2022 to May 2023 to be eligible for the fellowship. All degree programs will qualify. This is an in-person fellowship. While there are no residency requirements, applicants must be able to commute to New York City at least 2 to 3 days per week for the duration of the fellowship. Once selected, fellows should be able to commit about 15 to 20 hours per week to their assigned agency or organization. Each fellow will receive a $5,000 stipend split between each semester for their participation in the program. During the fellowship, fellows will have the opportunity to work on projects that focus on emergency preparedness, resiliency, and involve collaboration with New York City government agencies, community-based organizations, and other key partners. And now for our participating agencies. First, we have New York City Emergency Management. Placements here at NYCM include the Emergency Operations Center, Government Relations, and Strategic Partnerships. We also have Department of Environmental Protection, Department of Education, NYPD, FDNY, American Red Cross in Greater New York, and Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. After 10 years, we've made a significant impact with 33,000 service hours from 90 alumni. More than half of fellowship alumni have moved on to careers in New York City and New York State government, while the remaining alumni have found exciting careers in nonprofit and private organizations around the world. So in that top right-hand picture, we have a picture of our former fellow, Robert Bristol, and our former commissioner, Esposito, during the 2015-2016 cohort. And right under that picture, we have our current cohort for 2021-2022. Now we would like to give you a little bit of an inside look to the fellowship. I would like to introduce Seth Kerr, a 2022 fellow who was placed at NYCM in the Emergency Operations Center.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here with us.
Welcome, Seth. Thank you for joining us today. So I'm going to jump right in and ask you, what have been your thoughts so far and experience with the fellowship?
This fellowship has been a phenomenal experience. I currently am attending NYU Wagner for my master's in urban planning. And before I applied, I originally didn't think that maybe this would be something for me with emergency management, but I've come to find that it's been great exposure to how city government works. And I've learned so much about how New York City emergency management connects with all the other different agencies within the city, and how city government really gets to serve the 8.8 million New Yorkers. And I've come to find that this has just been an absolutely phenomenal opportunity to learn.
Awesome. That is amazing. And so far, what have been your favorite projects to work on?
I was fortunate enough to be allowed to be an evaluator on a cybersecurity continuity of operations conference that the city held back in the fall, and it was really interesting. I had learned so much from the cybersecurity professionals on how the city would be responding to any number of challenges in the cybersecurity realm. That was really fun to be a part of. I've also am currently planning my own tabletop exercise for the department here at New York City Emergency Management, and that's taught me a lot about how exercise planning is conducted and how to make it really relevant for the city agencies. So those have been two of my favorite projects so far.
Great. It sounds like you're beginning a lot of hands-on experience, which I think many fellows look for when they're applying to these kinds of programs. And the last question that I have for you is, what advice do you give to our future applicants and our listeners today?
A few pieces of advice. First, don't let the idea that emergency management, like you have to have a degree in emergency management to participate in this program. Like it was said earlier, anyone from any background can participate, and it's applicable for full range of different degree programs. Like I said, I'm urban planning. I know people here that are public administration, public policy, health policy. You can find your fit with whatever placement you have within the organization. So all backgrounds are welcome. The application process is pretty straightforward. The window closes next Monday. There's a strong writing component, a few 250-word essay questions to do as part of that. So if you haven't already started, I highly recommend you get started on that. Every word is read, and people look really closely at what's being said in those applications. So the more time you give yourself to edit and take time to get that in and make it look good and polished will only increase your chances of being selected for further interviews. This is a great opportunity. I don't regret a single aspect of my time here at New York City Emergency Management as part of the fellowship, and I highly recommend it to everyone else. I'm going to drop my email in the chat, so if you have direct questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to anyone about the fellowship.
Thank you, Seth. Thank you for that insight. And as you see, we have two other pictures up on the screen. I'll share a small quote from Catherine Zapata. She is also part of the 2021-2022 cohort. Her quote is that the John D. Solomon Fellowship has given me the resources and understanding of the agency, which has allowed me to understand its urgency for the 8 million residents and best understand its impacts. And I'll also read a snippet of Rob's time when he was placed at the Department of Education during the 2015-2016 cohort. He expressed that he learned quickly the importance of political navigation within government agencies. He admits that he made mistakes, but quickly learned with the guidance of his mentor and feedback from others within the agency. He was also newly exposed to corporate procedures, which he believes to be one of the most essential skills to understand when working within a government agency. Because of his positive experience with the John D. Solomon Fellowship for Public Service, he has made much of his time available to incoming fellows through event attendance, as well as sharing anytime the application comes back up via social media and through his alumni network. And if you are interested in reading different perspectives from other current fellows as well as past fellows, I do suggest that everyone visit the John D. Solomon Fellowship LinkedIn page, and I will throw that in the chat for everyone. We do have blog posts for everyone, and one in particular that I suggest to read is Joseph Yoon. He is part of the current cohort as well, and he is over at the Department of Environmental Protection, and he had a great outlook into his experience during his blog post.
I went upstairs earlier, but you were as well.
Finally, I'd like to talk to you about the application process. I know Seth highlighted a couple of the steps, but just to reiterate, to apply, search for the John D. Solomon Fellowship for Public Service portal, or you can find it linked here in the chat. Then create an account to fill out the application and be sure to attach your resume. You can go back in and edit your application up until the due date, so feel free. Be prepared to answer a few short questions about your interest in public service as a part of the application. And as Seth said, every word is read and every word matters. So please take your time. We really look forward to your thoughts. The deadline to apply for the 2022-2023 cohort is March 21st. That is a week from today. We are looking for individuals with a strong commitment to New York City and public service. We're looking for individuals with strong oral and written communication skills and a proactive can-do attitude and a strong desire to learn. Before we enter the Q&A period, we would like to leave you with the following quote. To live in John's legacy is something that you can take with you as you move forward professionally. The relationships within the family bring an exposure to experiences that cannot be replicated anywhere else.
Thank you, Alyssa, and thank you, Seth, for your time. Now we'll open up to Q&A. I do see someone did post something in the chat. But before we get to that, I want to make sure everyone can see the email address. So if you do have any specific questions about your application, or you don't maybe want to reach out to Seth directly, please feel free to email that. And that is the name of the LinkedIn page, John D. Solomon Fellowship for Public Service. I also put that link in the chat. So Alyssa, the first question we have, are the essays 250 words or characters?
They are characters. So I know when I applied for the fellowship a couple years ago, I had to really edit down what I was writing. So please make sure you choose your words wisely. Every word counts.
Thank you. And we'll give it a few more minutes to get a few more questions in. In the meantime, while everyone is maybe thinking about some questions, I do want to let everyone know that this was, sorry, let me just get my screen up. This was brought to you today by Ready New York. I apologize, it keeps opening up on the wrong screen. But so Ready New York does do emergency preparedness presentations. We come out to schools, fairs, if you have a block party, houses of worship, things like that. We talk about individual preparedness and how to make a plan with your family. So if you are interested, you can reach us on Ready New York or New York City Emergency Management's website. And we also encourage everyone to follow us on our social media pages if you are just interested in New York City Emergency Management or emergency preparedness information itself. I don't see any more questions in the chat, but again, I do encourage everyone to either email Seth or email the general email jdsfellowship@oem.nyc.gov with questions. And we thank you for your time today. We hope that we have convinced you to apply to the fellowship.
Get those applications in, it's worth it.
We did get one more question, Alyssa, if you're still on.
Okay, so these are the.
Hello?
Yes, I am. Give
Okay.
me 1 second.
Sure, no, of course.
Let's see.
Alyssa, I have the application timeline queued up if you want me to read it out.
Yeah, go ahead for me. Thank you.
Yeah, so the application you'll apply by the 21st of March. Finalists are notified by Wednesday, March 30th that they become a finalist. There's going to be a webinar for finalists on Thursday, April 7th. And then virtual interviews are going to be conducted the week of April 18th to 27th, with final notifications to fellows who've been selected for one of the 10 spots by Friday, May 6th. And then the fellowship starts September 2022. And that application timeline can be found on the How to Apply for the Solomon Fellowship website, if you want to see it for yourself.
I'm throwing that link right into the chat right now. Those are two very great questions. All right, well, if we don't have any more, we are going to call it a day, and we thank you for your time once again. Have a great one, everyone.